Okay, folks, buckle up, because tonight we're losing more than just the track of time. And if you've ever looked at the clock and wondered where the last few hours went, this one's for you. Get ready for a wild ride. The night the road deleted an hour. You're on an American interstate past midnight. Radio low. Coffee going cold in the cup holder. The dashboard says 11:42. You check again after what feels like a few songs. It now says 1:07. Same stretch of asphalt, no exit ramp in the mirror. The gas needle barely moved. Your phone and the car clock agree, which is the part that gnaws away in your stomach. One clock can lie. Two systems locking on the same missing hour is harder to shrug off. You weren't asleep, you weren't drunk. You were driving, hands on the wheel. Lane markers ticking past in that hypnotic rhythm every night driver knows. Nothing about the body says blackout. Nothing about the road says you pulled over and lost the plot. Somewhere between those two numbers, a piece of night never wrote itself into the record. Tonight is about the hours that never happened, the missing frames in this world, and why so many of you already know that feeling, even if you've never said it out loud. Okay, that interstate beat is the whole thesis in under a minute. And if your brain already tried to explain it away with fatigue, good, keep that skeptic on the payroll. Now we're going to feed it real cases and real science, and then see what still doesn't add up. And also, this isn't an abduction special, no roadside blackout story dressed up as proof. The body stays in the seat, the hour does not. That gap is the whole file. Missing time on American highways and everyday life. You've had a version of this. Now, maybe not the full interstate jump, maybe quieter. You leave a Walmart or a Home Depot store around 3:10. Cart, receipt, ordinary Tuesday. You push through the doors and the parking lot is dark. Your phone says 6:40. You stand there doing the math like the math is the problem. You replay the aisles in your head. Detergent, batteries, the slow cashier. And you can't find 3 hours hiding in any of it. The receipt timestamp doesn't rescue you either. It only proves you were inside when you thought you were. Or you're on nights, hospital corridor, diner counter, airport terminal, places stuffed with clocks, wall clock, phone, register, and still a block of time that refuses to line up. Co-workers swear you were just here. You swear the same. The clocks disagree with both of you. Someone jokes that the shift ate you. Everyone laughs just a second too late. Highway compressions are the loudest American pattern. Long night drives, sparse exits. Mind on the road, then suddenly the city lights are closer than they should be and your ETA is a joke. People describe it the same way in comments and forums. Conversations felt continuous, body felt continuous, time did not. And one person will say they remember every song on the playlist. Another will say they remember the argument in the passenger seat, word for word. Then they both look at the clock and the story acquires a whole neither of them agreed to. And then there's a softer version too. Whole days that feel like someone skipped a reel. You get to Thursday and Monday and Wednesday are still on the calendar, but not in your bones. Meals you half remember. Messages you answered in a fog. That off feeling isn't always a full timeline swap. Sometimes it's a partial time error, like a few frames dropped in an otherwise normal edit. When one clock is wrong, you replace a battery. When your phone, your car, and a gas station display all agree you lost 90 minutes, I just lost track of time starts working overtime as a comfort story. If almost everyone has a private version of this, why do we only get loud about it when the gap is extreme enough to sound like a movie? Okay, now maybe you might recognize yourself in that last section. If the comments fill up with "this happened to me on the I-80 or the M1, it's doing its job." Now, my pushback, memory is terrible historian, and stores with no windows will scramble anyone's sense of afternoon. So, the everyday slips are on ramp, not the verdict. What I'm watching for next is when the story stops being one tired brain and starts being two brains, two phones, and a gas gauge that didn't get the memo. Rudolph Fentz, Times Square time travel legend, explained. Summer, mid-century New York. The story goes like this. Around 11:15 at night, a man appears in the middle of Times Square traffic like he stepped out of the wrong door. Period clothes, roughly 1870s cut. Mannerisms that don't match the neon. He's confused, disorientated, trying to cross a street that has rewritten its rules since the century he dresses for. Horns, headlights, the particular violence of a modern intersection meeting a man who doesn't even know what a modern intersection is. Then he's hit by a car. At the morgue, the pockets become the legend. Currency from an older era. A bill from a livery store on an address that doesn't operate that way anymore. Personal effects that belong to a man who, in retellings that sound like police reports, vanished from the historical record decades earlier. The name attached to the tale, Rudolph Fentz. And this story spread hard in the early 1950s and has been repeated as if it were a filed police case. It migrated from pulp fiction into true mystery, radio and magazine culture, until enough retellings sanded off the fictional origin. Our researchers and fact-checkers have traced that path in public. Snopes rates the police case version false. Wikipedia files it under time travel urban legend. So, we're not going to pretend that there's a clean NYPD folder with a time traveller toe tag. And what matters for us is why the story stuck. Wrong wardrobe, wrong documents. No continuous path explaining how a person-shaped object arrived at that intersection with a past that doesn't connect to the present's paperwork. People don't keep retelling a tale for 70 years unless it scratches something they already half believe about how fragile continuity is. It's the cultural template a lot of American missing time talk still borrows from, whether people know the name or not. Someone comes to in a place they don't remember. Someone's pockets and receipts argue with their last clear memory. Someone is present in a room with no arrival scene attached. Hold the pattern, not the tourist ghost tour, clocks, witnesses, and what failed to exist in the gap. Did something throw a man forward, or did the present misplace the frames that should have shown him arriving? Yes, I put a disputed legend next to the proof on purpose, and then sandbagged it. Now that's not a gotcha on you, it's hygiene. If we only use airtight court exhibits, this genre disappears. A fence is the archetype. The question underneath is still alive, even if the 1950 police blotter isn't. Now, what does a person look like when their continuity fails in public? Multi-witness, missing time road trip glitches. One driver, one foggy memory, easy dismissal. Now put 2 or 3 people in the same vehicle. The pattern shows up again and again in glitch forums and late-night calling culture. Same highway, same departure time. Everyone talking, music, argument, dumb jokes, the ordinary noise of a car that was never silent. Then the clocks are wrong for all of them. Phones that never left pockets, a car clock. Now sometimes a witness at the destination who expected them an hour earlier and is already annoyed before anyone can invent a story. Listen to how these reports are usually told. Nobody leads with spaceships. They lead with irritation. We left at 9. We should have been there by 11. Why is it past midnight? The fear comes second. After the arithmetic fails in public, nobody in the car can supply the missing reel. Physical tells get mentioned like stubborn footnotes. Fuel that doesn't match the miles. Odometer readings that feel light for the time elapsed. Sunset position that belongs to a different slot in the evening than the one on the lock screen. A bladder that doesn't feel like 4 hours of highway coffee. None of that is a courtroom lab test. It's people trying to find a second instrument when the first one, memory, feels continuous. That continuity is the knife twist. If you'd all blacked out, someone would notice the drop in conversation, the lurch, the silence. Instead, the report is, we were mid-sentence and the world had moved hands. One person finishes a story, another asks what time it is. The answer doesn't fit the song still playing. And I'm not going to dress anonymous forum posts up as peer-reviewed field studies. Treat them as a cluster of claims with a repeating shape. The shape is what belongs in this file. Shared subjective continuity, discontinuous external time. If memory plays one movie and the clocks play another, you have to ask which record you trust when they stop agreeing, and what it means if the wrong record is the one carved into silicon in your pocket. This is where I get less polite with the easy answers. Group fatigue exists. Mass suggestion exists. Our cars are rolling sensory deprivation tanks after midnight. Grant all of that. But what I won't grant for free is that 3 separate devices and a fuel gauge all joined a group delusion for fun. Fatigue and suggestion are real. I'm not pretending otherwise. But when several people and several clocks lose the same hour, the easy shrug gets harder to hold. That's the line where weird story turns into write this down. Airport time slips, national parks, and lost hours. Airports are temples of synchronized time, departure boards, gate screens, the silent agreement that everyone is staring at the same numbers. So when layover stories break that agreement, they hit harder than a lonely highway. People describe landing into the wrong day, feel body on one schedule, terminal on another, or losing a chunk between security and gate that no walking speed explains. You're surrounded by official clocks, and you still can't make the arithmetic polite. There's a special flavour of this on long connections. You clear security, certain you have 2 hours. You sit down, answer a message, and look up, and your boarding group is already being called like you stole time from yourself. Or the inverse, you swear you wandered the terminal forever. The board insists only 20 minutes moved. Jet lag explains mood. It doesn't always explain why your phone and the gate screen agree on a gap your body refuses to sign. Now, national parks and deep forest roads flip the sensory diet. Fewer screens, more silence. Trailheads where phone signals die and your watch becomes a tiny dictator. Lost hour reports out here often sit next to a wider conversation about people who vanish in wild spaces. Now, we're not turning this into a Missing 411 series episode. Different file, different promise. We're only borrowing the framing that matters for time, long gaps, thin explanations, terrain that scrambles dead reckoning. A loop trail that should take 40 minutes, a return to the lot under the wrong colour of sky. That moment when you check your watch, not to be efficient, but to confirm you still exist on the same schedule as the rest of the country. And then the cousin story that lives in airport lore, a traveller whose paperwork points to a country that isn't on the map. The Taured tale. A man at a mid-century airport with a passport from a place that doesn't exist. Detained, then gone from the narrative in the way these stories love. Modern digging ties real-world fraud and confused reporting to parts of that legend. Again, pattern, not gospel. The pattern is a person whose administrative reality doesn't dock with the room he's standing in. High anxiety stages share a trait. They force you to negotiate with public time. Boards, ranges, customs, schedules. So, a private glitch stops feeling private. On an empty highway, you can lie to yourself until sunrise. Under fluorescent gate light, the lie has witnesses. Our airports will gaslight your circadian rhythm for free. That's not paranormal, that's Delta. Our parks will empty your battery and your confidence. I'm including them because this audience lives in those buildings and those lots, not in 18th century gardens. Now, we brushed Missing 411 energy and Taured energy without pitching a tent. Now, if you want the full deep dives on them, let me know. They're for another night. Versailles time slip and Bold Street, Liverpool cases. August the 10th, 1901. 2 educated English women, Charlotte Ann Mobley and Eleanor Jardin, walked the grounds of Versailles toward the Petit Trianon. They later write that the atmosphere turns heavy, flat, wrong. Trees that look lifeless, figures in period clothing. A sketching woman, Mobley will eventually connect in her own mind to Marie Antoinette. A man by a kiosk whose face they both find repulsive. Directions from people who don't dress like 1901 tourists. They publish an adventure in 1911 under pen names. The claim detonates in public debate. Ghosts, shared hallucination. A slip into the late 18th century. Now, skeptics have spent a century offering mirage, heat, suggestion, imperfect memory. Believers hold to the dual testimony and the detail. That paths and landmarks they described didn't match the modern layout they tried to rewalk later. Whatever you conclude, the structure is familiar by now. 2 witnesses, discontinuous atmosphere. A stretch of afternoon that refused to behave like ordinary tourism. I'm giving this minutes, not a documentary hour, because it's one of the best documented classic claims in the genre. 2 witnesses, written accounts, follow-up obsession, even if documented is not the same as proven. And a shout out for Bold Street, Liverpool. Across decades, walkers report the same jolt. They're on a modern high street, phones, traffic, ordinary errands. And then the street looks years wrong. Shop fronts shift, cars age backwards. Fashions slide into earlier slices of the 20th century. A minute later, or what feels like a minute, the present snaps back into place. Different people, same corridor of city. Not one viral night. A drip of reports stretched across years. Someone goes in for cigarettes and comes out shaken because the brand name on the window belonged to their childhood or their parents' childhood, and not to the afternoon they just left. Another version has a person step into a shop that shouldn't still trade under that name, buy nothing, and walk back out into a street that has already corrected itself, leaving them holding the wrong century in their head and the right one under their feet. Recurrence is the eerie part. A single jump can be written off as stress, suggestion, a bad afternoon. A place that keeps offering the wrong year is harder to file under one off. Either the street trains people to expect a story, or the street keeps misbehaving. Name jumps feel rare when you only collect museum pieces. They feel less rare when you notice the low-grade version hitting ordinary Tuesdays. Versailles is the respectable exhibit. To academics, a book, 100 years of arguments. Bowl Street is the recurring glitch on one road, which is either a gift to pattern seekers or a warning about how folklore colonises a postcode. I kept both short on purpose. Tonight's spine is the highway compressions, the multi-witness cars, the airports, and the ordinary lost hours. The classics support that spine. They don't replace it. Why time feels like it's speeding up since 2016. Now, talk to people about the last decade and you'll hear the same half laugh. 2016, 2020, whatever year it is while you're watching this. The years feel stacked too tight, like someone leaned on fast forward and broke the key off. Election cycles blur. A pandemic chunk sits in memory like a room with the lights stuck on. What year is it? Stop being a joke. People half mean it when they say it now. Psychology has a sober kit for this, and we owe it to the first chair. One old idea: logarithmic time. Each new year is a smaller fraction of the life you've already lived, so it feels shorter. Novelty matters too. Childhood is dense with firsts. Adulthood repeats. When your days are the same tabs, the same commute, the same scroll, the brain stores fewer landmarks. Fewer landmarks means a year with nothing to hold on to. Attention fragments finish the job. Doom scroll a feed for 3 hours and ask your body how long it was. You'll get a wrong answer with confidence. There's also the calendar trick of crisis. When public life runs onto alert headlines, days get emotionally loud and temporarily mushy at the same time. You remember intensity. You don't always remember sequence. That's boring human bookkeeping under stress. It doesn't require a tear in physics, and anyone being honest has to say that out loud before they reach for stranger tools. It explains a lot without any tear in physics. Now the glitch read. The one your comment section's already half right, under wrong timeline posts. Or what if the compression isn't only perception? What if the collective frame rate changed? Not the events were fake, not a rewrite of what happened in public life, but a sense that whole stretches were thinned or deleted from how time is supposed to land in a nervous system. People who talk about waking up in the wrong world often mention speed and skip in the same breath. Different symptoms, same unease. The tape doesn't feel continuous. Missing time scaled up. Not one driver on the I-40. A culture checking its watch. Are we aging faster, or is the tape running thin? I will fight anyone who turns time feels faster into a single conspiracy master key. A novelty collapse is real. Your phone is a novelty incinerator. That said, if we only ever recite Psychology 101, we don't need a channel called an archive of mysteries. The useful move is both desks occupied. Respect the mundane machinery, and then ask why the mundane explanation still leaves a residue for so many people at once. Now, residue isn't proof. Residue is why you're still watching. What causes missing time? Brain glitches or timeline edits? Lane 1. Brain time. Your temporal lobe and attention networks build the feeling of duration. Flow states erase hours in a kind way. Panic stretches seconds. Exhaustion, highway hypnosis, seizures in rare cases. The brain can drop stitches. And before you reach for the cosmos, you check the organ that manufactures now. A tired nervous system is fully capable of handling your clean-looking gap and full sense of continuity on either side of it. That's not debunking, that's due diligence. Lane 2. Local space-time weather. Now, some places collect repeat stories. A highway corridor, a street like Bold Street, a patch of woods. Folklore calls them thin spots. Fringe writers talk about time storms, localized conditions where duration misbehaves. You don't need a full new physics paper to notice the pattern recognition. Same geography, different decades, similar complaints. Either the place trains people to expect a story, or the place is doing something. The honest position is that recurrence is data, even when the mechanism is still an open field. Lane 3. Contact law cousin. Military testimony, culture, and UFO case files use the phrase missing time as a standard vocabulary. Hypnosis era accounts, radar era accounts. Drive home late, lose 90 minutes, wake up with a fear you can't attach to a scene. That grammar shows up in those files constantly. We're bridging, not boarding the craft. One careful link. Whatever you think of the phenomenon, the language of deleted duration shows up whenever people try to report contact with something that doesn't clock in under normal rules. Lane 4. Timeline edit simulation. Hours removed from the render, not forgotten, absent. Maybe most days stay put, and only a few frames get snipped. One glance at the bigger operations and machines conversation if you need the connective tissue. No temple tour, no side quest. The unsettling version isn't that reality is fake, it's that reality might be editable at a resolution small enough that only your clocks notice. So, which is it when the dash jumps from 11:42 to 1:07? A brain protecting you from boredom? A pocket of bad space-time weather? A brush with something that doesn't share our clocks? Or an edit in a system that can delete without asking? Not a different world, just missing frames in this one. Well, 4 lanes, no coronation. If I pick a winner on camera, I'm closing the file instead of opening it. Now, brain time is the floor, simulation talk is the ceiling. The middle two are where this channel earns its rent. And yes, I kept the machine world glance to a glance. Tonight's villain is an empty hour, not a Collider tourism brochure. If your favourite mechanism didn't get a parade, park it in the comments with a timestamp. That's how the archive grows without turning into a laundry list. Reality glitches and missing hours. Now, I did a video over a year ago about displacement. Now, you wake up and the world is almost right. Wrong details, wrong memories, a timeline that almost fits, but not quite. Now, you can check it out up here or in the description below. But this one's about deletion. Same world, missing frames. The road that kept you and dropped the hour. The clocks that agreed with each other and disagreed with your life. You started on that interstate with me. Dashboard 11:42, then 1:07. Gas needle steady enough to mock you. 2 systems saying the same impossible thing. After Fentz's stubborn legend, after multi-witness cars, after airports and forests, and after Versailles and a Liverpool street that won't stay in this century, after a decade that feels pre-compressed and 4 ways an hour can die, that opening jump should feel heavier. Not solved, just mapped. And maybe your version wasn't a highway. Maybe it was a night shift that skipped a block. Maybe it was a Tuesday the receipt just can't explain. The costume changes, the shape doesn't. A stretch of life with no frames attached. Wrong world, deleted hours. Whatever the next fracture is, you and I are going to put it on the table without lying to the part of us that knows something is off. Your move. What's the longest stretch you've ever lost? Highway, night shift, or ordinary Tuesday that you still can't explain? Drop the clocks if you remember them. Phone versus car versus wall. I read them all. And if someone you know keeps shrugging off a missing hour as just tired, send them this. Tired doesn't always move 2 clocks at once. And that's the file closed, sort of. Files like this never really close. They just get shoved into a drawer that rattles at 3 AM. Anyway, if this whole thing felt like someone finally described the weird gap you've been shrugging off, good, that was the point. If it felt like a long way of saying sleep more, also fair, sleep more. Thanks for hanging out with me in the Unexplained. Now drink some water, check 1 extra clock, and call someone you love. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this one. Now, I've just launched a free Discord server for better community chat where we can all hang out and share ideas about the weird and the wonderful. It's completely free, so why not give it a go? Link to the Discord is in the description below. Also, so many of you have told me that you just don't get any notifications for videos or live streams. Well, that's because of the new way YouTube works. In order to get notified, you need to select the bell icon and then select all. Otherwise, you just won't get the notifications. As always, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. It really helps out the channel and I'd truly appreciate it. Okay, my friends, be safe. And until next time, stay curious.